Karl Anthony Towns and Jaden McDaniels each had 23 points, and Minnesota comes back from 20 down. They were on life support, down 15 at halftime, down 20 early third quarter, and they eject the reigning champions of pro bouncy ball, the Nuggets, as they're done 98-90 the final. The Timberwolves have advanced now. They're in the Western Finals. They'll start with Dallas on Wednesday in the Twin Cities. But we will have plenty of time to discuss the Western Conference Finals, but instead we must do the autopsy on what just happened here in Colorado with the Nuggets, who seemingly had everything cooking, and then they had nothing cooking the rest of the way. So the question, who's to blame for the Rocky Mountain collapse in the NBA playoffs in Game 7 at home? What an embarrassment. What an absolute embarrassment. We'll start with that. So, we focus in on the headlines, right? And the headlines here are all about the Stars not performing at the end. Now, you look at the stat lines. Well, the only two Nuggets in double figures were the two Stars, but Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, they had to have a higher gear in this game, and they did not have a higher gear in this game. They did not step up. Really, from about 3 minutes in to the second half, from that point forward, after going up 20 at the 10:50 mark, so it wasn't even 3 minutes in, 10:50 mark of the third quarter. So that's a minute and 10 seconds, my computer-like brain tells me. From that point forward, the Nuggets, I wrote it down, they were outscored by 28 points in their own gymnasium there. Jokic and Murray combined to shoot 10 of 25 from the floor the rest of the game, 40%. Michael Porter Jr. had one three-point basket. That was it, which doesn't sound very impressive until you consider that Aaron Gordon was shut out. He had a goose egg the rest of the game. Now, I didn't play in the NBA. I don't think that's good, but what do I know? I just do the overnight show here. So Minnesota, let's not misconstrue the fact they were a good defensive team. This was not because of lockdown Timberwolf defense. This was wide open shots, many of them that were missed in cahoots with some good defensive possessions by Minnesota. But how will history remember Anthony Edwards' sneaky performance? He got the post-game interview and all that. Anthony Edwards, you didn't see the game here. He's the headliner. I was told by my NBA media elites that he is Michael Jordan 2.0, and I like Anthony Edwards. I have nothing against the guy. But, man, was he a ball of suck in this game. Man, did he stink. Anthony Edwards, to answer the question, how will history remember his performance, his stinky performance in this game, he picked up a presidential pardon is what he got. Because Edwards took 24 shots. He only made 6 of them, 25%. That's it. While he was on the floor there, just ineffective. He's the offensive dynamo, but he wasn't the offensive dynamo in this game. And the idea that somehow he turned on the performance in the second half, I've heard some pundits trying to say that. It's not true. He took, in the second half of the game, he took 17 shots. He was 5 of 17. That was slightly better, so still under 30%. But the deal is, and we know this from past examples here, that victory is one hell of a wonderfully smelling cologne. And he took a bath in cologne, Anthony Edwards. And even though he stunk, over time, we know how this works, over time, people will remember the fact that Minnesota won the game, the turning point in the third quarter comeback, and then the final score. And that's it, period, stop. That's what people were going to remember. History has shown us that people suffer from amnesia, and even over time, long term, you'll forget the turning point. You'll just remember the final score. If you go back and look, and you go on like basketballreference.com, you're like, okay, what happened? Probasketballreference.com, and that's it. Now, page 2 here. What the heck does this series win by Minnesota prove? So I like this. I was thinking about it as I was taking my long ride in from the North Woods here. And what it proves to me is it debunks a bunch of things. And I've been hiding out under the cover of darkness behind these microphones. And I have, over the years, had some positions Some have been attacked by doofuses, but this is confirmation, and that's why I was happy with the outcome. I was. Because the first thing it debunks, I'll go through, it's not a list, I don't do list radio, but Coach Michael Malone implied that his team was gassed. That's the implication. He said, I played last year deep into the summer and all that. That's embarrassing. And I'll tell you why it's embarrassing, and this is what it debunks. This is the franchise in Denver that likes to be very braggadocious about how high up in the air they play. And they dominated home, and all the Colorado teams, because of the altitude, and they had that number, even the jerseys, the uniforms they were wearing, 5,280. 5280. It's on the court. It's on the alternative uniforms for the Denver Nuggets. The altitude, the mile-high city. Nobody comes in there and wins, right? They have so great, you can't handle it. The team that's going to get tired is the road team, not the home team. Because of the altitude, it's impossible to win there. How many home games did the team from Denver that plays at that high altitude lose in this series? Not one, not two, three. Wow. It's almost like it debunked the whole altitude thing. If you're good, it doesn't matter. If you're bad, you use it as an excuse. Who goofed? I've got to know. Now, the other thing that it debunked here is Uncle Mo. The only Uncle Mo is a guy from Brooklyn that calls the show randomly. Uncle Mo in sports does not exist here. Period. Hard stop. That's it. Right? It's just something uneducated fans, low-information fans like to grab onto and yap about. We now have DNA evidence in this series. Does not exist. The Timberwolves won the first two games in Denver. They had all the momentum. Oh, they were riding high. Oh, man, they were looking great. All the momentum. So then they went back home. Everyone's better at home. Surely they were going to continue. What? Wait a minute. Why would Minnesota give up the momentum? They had the momentum. Did they lose it somewhere over Iowa? Did it drop down into a cornfield on their way back from Colorado? What happened to the momentum? Okay, so then the Nuggets, they had all the momentum. Right? Oh, they're feeling good about themselves. They won the 3 games in a row. Oh, my God. And then they went back to Minnesota. And then, wait a minute, the Nuggets lost by 45 points, it says in my note. 45 points they lost by. But wait a minute, the Nuggets had the momentum. I don't understand. How could that happen? Explain that to me. I'm not that bright. Explain it to me. You can't. And so, okay, so then wait a minute. Minnesota won by 45 points, but back to Denver, and Denver, the altitude, the whole thing, and all that stuff. But wait a minute. The Nuggets had a 20-point lead. So they did. They got the momentum back. They had a 20-point lead. They were up 20 at home. Oh, my God. OMG. 20-point lead at home. Game 7. Championship pedigree. Michael Malone bragged about it. Championship pedigree. They puked in their mouth. They all puked in their mouth, the Denver Nuggets at the end there. Why would they do that? Did they not want to win? See, there is no such thing as momentum in sport. It does not exist. This series, a textbook example. You could also talk about the Indiana Pacers on their performance on the road against the New York Knickerbockers, the same situation. It's like, well, they can't win on the road. The Knicks are at home. They had all those hack celebrities there. Well, what happened? We know what happened. But momentum is used after the fact to explain the outcome, explain what happened here. Now, and it usually goes away when it doesn't fit the narrative. All right, last word. So do you have any problem? This is a big talking point among the NBA hardos. Do you have any problem with the Wolves' Anthony Edwards, as the clock was running down, waving goodbye to the people that bought tickets or got free tickets to the Nuggets game? Waving goodbye there as the game came to an end. So I only have a slight grumble. Generally speaking, I don't have a problem with this. The only issue I have, since it's a talk show, I have to have an issue. I do have this issue. My pet peeve, Edwards played like manure most of the game. He's an offensive Mozart, but it was just horrific. Okay, it was absolutely horrific. And so, I don't know, when you go take 24 shots and you miss 18 of them, and I don't know, it seems a little odd. It reminded me of in football when I know Minnesota won, but it's like you get a sack when you're not playing that well and the team's not doing well, and you celebrate and all that stuff. And then I watched on the TNT post game there inside the NBA, I believe, unless my TV was not working there, maybe it wasn't. That Anthony Edwards was pointing out that it was his defense in the second half that shut down Jamal Murray. I didn't really see it that way either. Didn't see that. The whole thing was slightly awkward. But I did see Murray miss a number of open shots. I saw Naz Reid of Minnesota play some pretty good defense at times there. The ensemble group collectively got it done.